address you today. So many people working in the field where I work as well, because I'm not only a professor of residential youth care in the Netherlands, but I also work at Schakenbos, a secure facility for children with a mild intellectual disability. And I can say this is one of the hardest groups, because they are actually quite violent. But in a secure environment, as Jaco already said, it is very important to have a good climate in this environment, but actually scientifically very few things are known about how to do this, because a lot of scientists are actually not interested in environments like this. So that's why I have my talk called Putting Theory into Practice. We need to do a lot of research in the future to make this kind of environment abstain from harm. And this is also my thesis, my doctoral thesis now, so 5 years ago. It was called First Do No Harm. And this is the oath doctors take. I was trained a doctor myself, and the oath doctors take when they become doctor: first do no harm. And I think this applies to youth care as well. And we must do the good things, and we first must do no harm. And this is very difficult. And why is it so difficult in secure youth care? We have two contradictory demands in secure youth care. We need to control. Sometimes this is felt as dominance. And this need for control is very important, because otherwise you have chaos and anarchy in your facilities. And actually, a lot of boys I spoke to say they fear this chaos and anarchy even more than strict guards or strict workers. So this is a very important topic. But also, we need to combine this need for control. We need to have also need flexibility, and we need to make contact with inmates and children as well. Because we know, and this is not something which is this is very recent knowledge, that making contact will set in positive changes with inmates. So we know from US research that if a guard or a social worker can make good contact with a boy or an inmate, then you could reduce recidivism a lot. So this is a very important thing in our society. With this in mind, we have had to measure this living group climate, because if you don't measure it, every worker, even the workers at the place where I work, say, well, it's not good at the moment at our ward or our group, because we have the hardest boys. And everywhere in the whole secure youth care, you have the hardest children or the hardest inmates or the hardest boys. But actually, this is not true. Because every boy or man or woman strives to survive, to grow, and also, this is something which I always add, to belong to others. This is something which is deeply set into our brains. It's a social thing which is hardwired in our brain. So this need for surviving, this need for growth, and this need for belonging, these are the positive things even which characterize even our hardest criminals. We know this now. So what kind of demands must we make to have a good social climate in our institutions? Well, the first and most important thing is the responsibility of group workers or guards, or everybody who works there must be responsive to the needs of inmates and children. And we know this to be very, very effective in reducing violence inside, and also to be effective in reducing recidivism afterwards. So if we do it contrary, we make no contact. If we treat them like dirt, and this sometimes happens in the Netherlands as well, you are sure that nothing will change and they come out worse. This is something which has been proven over and over in Spellman's research of 200 years incarcerations in the United States of America, where the numbers have kept growing and growing, and recidivism has also been growing, and the costs to society has plummeted sky high the last 20 years. So we don't want to go that way, I think. So we must have responsive group workers, we must have responsive guards who act as role models to the youngsters and the inmates, and then we can hope something changes. We also need this flexibility to meet therapeutic needs and enabling growth. Very important. If you don't have anything to live for, and you think your life is just shit and nothing will happen in the future, you will not, your behavior will not be better. And in the Netherlands, I encounter a lot of children and adults who think they have nothing worth living for, and it's our task to hold a mirror to them and explain them that even in their predicament, there are still chances for them for a normal life in society. And that's what most of these boys and adults actually hope for. If you ask them, I've asked them thousands and thousands times over, what do you want in the future? And then they always say, just normal. This just normal means having a place to live for themselves, a friend or a wife, a small job. Often, most of them are not dreaming of great things. And oh yeah, I forget something which they all mentioned. They want to have a car. So we know these children and adults, they hope for actually quite simple things, which are the same hopes we have, and we all want to belong to others. So we need to build an environment in which we can regain contact. And we know from lots of research, not only in the Netherlands, that if children and adults do not make contact with others, they become violent. This is something scientifically proven, and this is very important to know. So the main thing is when we can make contact with inmates and children, we can also reduce violence inside our facilities. We have done research on this in several facilities, not only in the Netherlands, but also in Germany and in Belgium and in England. And everywhere we see that if we are able to make contact with the clients inside, that violence will become less. And this is very important because guards and inmates both need security inside. So if we can provide the security through contact, we know this will. Oh, there's something. This will be good for both working and living inside. This is a very important point I wish to make to you. We do not only need to see the interests of the children and inmates, but we also have to heed the interests of the workers. If you work in a bad climate, where there's a lot of violence, threat, accidents, it gets to you as well as a worker. And Chris Lambert of the United States. He did a lot of research on this, and he showed that when the climate is bad, there's a lot of sick leave, burnout, and also guards are hitting their wife and kids more. And Lambert says this spills over. This is a very important point I want to make on this topic of climate. So we need to assure the mental health of our workers as well. Otherwise, we are doing something wrong. And we need to do, and guards and social workers and everybody concerned need to do this with a minimum of coercion. Because large meta-analysis, that's something which you incorporate about 80 to 100 studies, and large meta-analysis shows this has to be done with a minimum of coercion. Because if we have a lot of coercion, you have no results. And we do have to do it with a minimum of repression. And Chris will talk about this, because this is a topic which always comes up in a secure environment. And this is a very hard topic. And actually, there's not much research done on this. So we are just starting last few years to see how we can deal with this and help guards and workers to minimize coercion and repression. This is not an easy task, I can assure you. Yeah. So, at 2007, with some colleagues of mine, we started to look into this climate thing. And why did we do this? Well, actually, life in youth prisons and secure youth facilities in Netherlands at 2007 was hell. And there was a large report of the inspections, and they said literally some of those places are hellholes. And there was a lot of violence, even sometimes death, fires, and I was commissioned to look into this. How can we make this better? Because children were very unhappy and staff were very unhappy as well about their work. So what do you do to improve this? This is not a simple matter, because a secure facility is something of a closed environment where it's very hard from the outside to get in, and even much harder to have criticism on the way of dealing. And sometimes it's very important to have criticism. In one of the facilities where I did my research, my first research, I saw some appalling things. And I thought, well, how can we change this? So what I saw was one of the directors quit, and I asked her, why do you quit? And then she told me that when youth have been violent, they were beaten up by the guards on a regular way. And then she couldn't see this anymore, and she was quitting. She works now in another facility where these things don't happen anymore in the Netherlands. But it shows how difficult it is in a secure environment to remain human. And this is a very important point. So we were thinking how to make a measurement, and this measurement can be used to have the temperature of the climate, and then we can give feedback to everybody involved, even the guards, even the doormen, about the climate, and see how we could change things, because this change was needed according to the inspections. So we came on 4 main scales in our questionnaire, which Jacco told about, and the main important scale is responsivity of staff, and this will remain always as long as we have secure facilities. This responsivity is the most important thing. And responsivity is not that you pamper youth or inmates or give them anything they want. Very important is not to do this, because if you don't maintain control, everything can happen. That's something which a boy said to me. So it's very important that responsivity is not the same as giving in to them everything. So don't do this, please. Sometimes people think we have to give in to all their demands. No, responsivity is talking to people, making contact, being there when they need you. So we measure this, and we measure how responsiveness in the facility is there. And sometimes there's much responsiveness, and then the climate is always good. But sometimes there's no responsiveness. And in our measurement, in our research, we show that when there's no responsiveness, there's always violence in the facility. That's something which is now scientifically proven. A second thing is that responsiveness is one thing which is important, but the other thing is the need for perspective. We call it growth. And this need for perspective is not only important for children, but also for adults. Everybody wants to grow and belong, as I said earlier. So what does this growth means? It means that there's somewhere in this society, there's a place for you. And if there's no place for you and you're thinking, I don't belong here, we have done some research on this. This can lead to criminal cognitions. So less perceptions of growth means more criminal cognitions. I don't care. One of the boys said to me, if I murder you, I don't care, because there's nothing for me in the society. But in the Netherlands, we also see youngsters who have no perspective. Also, at the moment, they radicalize into and leave for countries where they fight against in Muslim countries. So this radicalization is also a consequence of having no hope for the future. So we need to foster this growth very, very intensively. And actually, when I say there's something good in Estonia, is the formal education system in the facilities. 3/4 of a year ago, I was at Talent Center for Children at Risk, and I had a small conference with boys and girls, and I asked the group, honestly, if I put the doors open, who would run away? And then some children, they put their hands up very honestly, and I asked them, where would you go? And they said, well, we go to friends because we haven't seen our friends for a long time, the need to belong. And then I said, and what would you do then? And then one of the biggest boys said, I come back. And I said, why do you want to come back? Because I go to school here, and I never went to school. So this is a very important thing in our system in Estonia, as that this school is for these children is very important, and growth for them is something they experience as a positive thing. Well, the third part of the measurement is the atmosphere, and the atmosphere is comprised of structure. It's very important that there is a daily structure. If there's no daily structure, this is very hard for the children because they don't know what to expect next, and they have a lot of boredom. And I can explain you from my personal experience at the facility where I work that at the beginning we had absolutely no structure. So what does this mean? Well, I came in at a morning, I went through the gate, and I saw a boy sitting on a 5-meter high lantern post. And there was a lot of staff walking around, and nobody said anything. in this potentially very dangerous situation? Nobody did anything. There was no structure. And what was the consequence of having no structure? Extreme boredom, unpredictability, boys setting fire to their rooms, fights. It even went so far as that the mayor of the town threatened to close the institution. We had no structure, and everything was fluid. So this is a very important lesson for me and for all the others who work in this environment. We need to have a good structure, because such structure also means safety, and we need to have good mutual context between boys and girls. And I have a very optimistic message, because one of my PhD researchers here is Ferdy Becken, who sits here. His PhD research is about mutual contact in secure environment between peers. And one of the main messages is that we looked at negative contact and we looked at positive contact. And actually the positive contact, children helping each other, inmates helping each other, was stronger than the negative contact. So there's a positive message that the good is stronger than the bad. But if we have no structure, we have no safety, we have no growth, we have no responsivity, then the bad will become stronger than the good. So we need to heed this. And at last, we need to do all these difficult tasks. I said in the national newspaper in Holland, I said, maybe the hardest work in the world. This difficult task we need to perform with a minimum of repression and coercion. This is what this meta-analysis actually showed us. So this is very hard work, because if you don't know if the boys and girls who come into our facilities, they do not want to be with us. They do not want to be inside. They're not motivated for change at the beginning. They really want to run away. And if you are kind to them, they kick you. I've been kicked many times. So this is something, as a professional, it can be very hard. But still we need to abstain from repression and coercion. But Chris will tell you all about this. This is a very important topic. We know from our research in many countries in Europe, but also outside of Europe, that improving the climate will improve the future lives of Estonian children at risk, also adult inmates. We are doing this research in many countries in Europe, and we will be even, hopefully, next year starting Australia, where the situation at the moment, you could read the newspapers, is very bad. And we are now starting to have talks about trying to make it better in Australia even. I'm very happy about this, because this will be, we will see improvement, I'm sure. Because if the climate is at its worst, it's more easy to improve. If you have already a good climate, and we found some institutions here in Estonia who had a good climate, it's harder to improve more. We shouldn't abstain from it, but actually, if the climate is very bad, to my experience, it's actually possible to change this in a few months. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult. We know what to do now to change this climate. And actually, I was commissioned half a year ago in a Dutch youth prison where they had two departments. They were called bunkers. And then you know something, how this looks inside, how this looked inside there. And with our measurement and our special training, we were able to change this climate only in a few months. You know, the place became cozy again, guards were making contact again, and actually the the inmates, who all had a mild intellectual disability, were happy that they had contact again. And boys from the other departments were asking our trainers and coaches, can you do this also in our department? Because they seem so happy. It can be very simple. But this research pointed also to another very important thing, and that's the staff. You cannot make a good climate without staff, because you do it together. So that's why we devised an instrument measuring the work climate as well. Because we know if you have a bad work climate, you will have a bad social climate. This is something which is intertwined. So we need to support our staff. This is a very important thing we learned. If we don't support our staff, they very soon become afraid, they become repressive, and actually in my research it showed that if they become coercive and repressive, they feel they are not in control. And this cycle is worsening. So we need to support staff to maintain this good climate. This is something which the leadership of our institutions is very important for. Without good support of staff, you cannot have a good climate. So, what are the main issues which have in the working climate, which have a relationship to the social climate? Because social climate and work climate are intertwined. So the first important thing is team functioning. If you have a good team who is working together, share the same vision, have good contact between staff, often you have a good climate. But this means that all workers, all staff should communicate with each other. But we now and then encounter departments where staff doesn't talk to each other for years sometimes. They don't communicate. This is very hard, and this inevitably leads to a bad climate and a lot of violence, because this guard says to the inmates or children, you should behave like this, and the other said you should behave like that. In a secure environment, this is very threatening. So team functioning, we should promote better team functioning. How to do this? We are developing methods in the Netherlands for this. And I am very glad to say that at the moment we are able to boost team functioning in secure environments. Also, leadership is very important. And this leadership should be aligned to the vision of the teams. If the leadership has a different vision or different goals, then you cannot make a good climate. So the leadership and the teams, the staff should work together. With different goals, you have instant problems. We have some facilities in the Netherlands at the moment where the climate has started to drop with a lot of violence, actually. And we went looking into it, and we saw that at the level of the management, people were not agreeing with each other. And this seeps down through the whole organization into to the departments and living groups. So there should be not only good team functioning, but there should be good leadership. Motivation is a very important thing as well. And also, we measure the psychological contract. If workers are unsure of their jobs, if they do not feel supported by the leaderships, they are not be able to do this very hard job. Okay. This is what we learned the last 10 years in our research. And one of the optimistic messages in our research is change is possible. This is the facility where I work, a facility for adolescents, very criminal and aggressive adolescents with a mild intellectual disability. And we have managed this climate, to change this climate to a hellhole, to a safe and stimulating place. 60% reduction in violence, even with this very difficult group. How does this happen? Here you see our measurements, and the red measurement is the repressive part of the climate, and the blue measurement is the positive climate. And you see, we started very bad. We had no structure. We had no responsiveness of inmates. And then it got worse, as I told you. And at the worst time, we had fires every week. We had even riot police sometimes on our premises. This was something which was very harrowing. And actually, at this moment, when we were at the lowest, we lost 60% of our staff. 60% of our staff went away and said, we don't want to work here. But then we regained ourselves, and we had a vision. We had to stabilize this climate, and we brought in structure. We brought in responsiveness for staff. We threw away all temporary workers. We said, you are not welcome anymore. We need to have stable staff, and this was one of our main lessons. We need to have staff who's always there for the children. And when we acquired this, we were able to stabilize the climate. But this is not something which you say, hooray, and be gone. This work will continue every day. It's an everyday business of keeping this climate well. So we now have our last measurement in October, and we see still some issues arising again. So we know we need to work hard on this. And every now and then, issues prop up from some small issues or big issues. And one of the main issues is always punishment, which Chris will talk about. And these issues, you need to address them as leadership and staff as well. We need to address those issues both on a continuing base. You can never sit back and say, now we have a good climate. This is not possible. We need to work at it every day. So, how did Estonia fare in the measurements? That's always something exciting. We had 2 measurements in May and December 2015. They were performed by small groups of Dutch students of our Master of Youth Care. We have a special Master of Youth Care at our university. We gave feedback to staff and boys and girls, as well as inmates. We had discussions with them. We gave them folders depicting the outcomes of both measurements, and we had talks with them for how could we change things, how could we make things better. We have now been doing a third wave at yesterday and the day before, and the results will be there in November 2016, and we give the feedback to all your institutions about the climate quality. And this is very important because then you can discuss it with all those concerned. In the second wave, we also measured the work climate. And this provided very big insight into the work climate in Estonia's secure facilities and prisons. And we know now that we found some issues as well. And this is important because we need to address the issues of the workers as well. Because, as I said, and I keep repeating it, it's the hardest work in the world. So, we have the results of, I sound like a Eurovision Song Contest. Harku Prison, Talent Center for Children at Risk, Tapa Reformatory School, Viru Prison, Kakvere Reformatory School. And we compare the results to the Dutch average. And, well, the first measurements compared to the Dutch average were not so good. And that's something to be expected, because the social climate, it needs to become something which is important for your facility. And actually, if you start, as we started in 2007, it takes a long time to improve this climate. It takes some time. So it was no surprise that the results from the Estonian average were less than the Dutch average. But you need to incorporate that we have been doing this for a long time already. So, but it also shows where the Estonian average can be in a few years. So you must not see it as something derogatory, but you must see it as something which is which you are able to achieve in the future. Okay. And what did we found? We found the Estonian boys and inmates experienced a less positive atmosphere and less support from staff. And you can see it, the support and atmosphere, they are mainly things which are less. So this is something which can be changed quite easily because a lot of staff actually can be trained to make contact, and the atmosphere will improve because there's more security through this contact. We call this relational security. We have physical security, fences, doors, bars, locks. Some facilities, there are many of those. But we know relational security is far more effective than physical security. And you say, well, he's not speaking the truth. This is our facility for very violent and very difficult MID children. And you can see, we have no big fences. It's quite open. And actually, in June, the Australian Commissioner of Prisons came to see our facility. And he refused to believe this was actually a prison. And he started immediately to photograph the fences and said, this is not possible here. But when he went inside and spoke to the boys and spoke to the staff, he saw this was possible. Actually, how do you keep them in? And we said, we have a good climate. And so this keeps them in. And it's not the fences which keeps them in. So, and also, so the atmosphere shows that the youth have a lack of trust and they have not enough air and daylight. Well, this is something to be expected when we were there in May 2015. We encountered some very old buildings, mainly old Soviet barracks, and luckily this has changed a lot. Some of the facilities are now brand new, they have more atmosphere. Actually, when I was there in May, the boys at one facility in Tapa, they had their sleeping rooms were the same as they had their lessons. This was not a very good thing at that time. But luckily, this has changed a lot. And now they have a new facility with modern lesson classrooms, with modern rooms. And I'm very happy that this change took place. So we predict that the atmosphere will be better. And also for the scale support, youth indicated that the group workers do not stimulate them enough and they do not discuss things regularly with them. Stimulating is very important, and a lot of children and inmates said they were bored to death, and this will always lead to reactance and violence. So there must be structure and stimulating things to do. There must be things to do which they see as something worthwhile for their own future. The discussing of things regularly is very important in a secure environment. It has something to do with the autonomy of children and inmates. If they feel they have a say in what is going on a daily basis, they will be more motivated. That's our research shows. So we need to discuss regular with everybody concerned. How are things going? What are things we could make better? And we have seen some very beautiful changes. I will tell you about it the next slide. But we also had a very positive message on the scale of growth. No noteworthy difference were found with the Dutch reference group. So in this formal education thing, Estonia is doing something well, extremely well, I think. And this is something which I'm happy to see. We did also in our research interviews. They could, the inmates and children could give grades, and the interviews and grades confirmed these results. Support from staff should be improved, mutual trust enhanced, and more autonomy is needed. But education was positive, equal to the Dutch average. A very good result for you. But we also noticed large difference between facility. Harku and Kaakvere were positive, and also Tallinn was slightly positive. In Tapa, there were differences between questionnaire results and interviews. That was not surprising, because at the state the building was in there was not very good. And Viru was less positive. That's also something which was to be expected. And here you can see the results from the different institutions. And you can see that the institutions have all different results. And you can look at that as a way that some institutions are doing something bad, but you can also look at it in a way that this is a chance for improvement. Every facility has had its reports, and we gave a recommendation for improvements. But you can see still the differences are huge. Then our second measurement started, because we know from practice you shouldn't do this once, because that you go in once and then you fly back to Holland, and everybody is continuing with the things they all did for thousands of years. So you need to come back, and you need to come back. And actually, one of the nice things of this coming back is that children and inmates were very happy to see us back. Even, as I heard last week, they were happy that we were coming back and doing this again. I couldn't be personally at Tallinn the second wave, and then some of the boys complained, where is this professor from Holland? He's listening to us. We find this important. You see, so actually we have got very good response on our measurements, and the boys and girls, they like to be able to have a say about things. We saw a slight deterioration of the climate in Harku, but growth measurement was still positive. We had a good work climate, but also uncertainty about the future. Well, this is to be explained because everybody knew then that Harku was going to be closed, and this is always bad for the climate. At Kaakvere, there was a stable, positive climate, living group and work climate. This is a very good thing. We found our first measurement, we found a stable, positive climate, and the second measurement as well. But we also saw in our measurements some typical girls' problems in the atmosphere scale. And it's something which we see in the Netherlands as well. Because if you have only girls, you have this girls' venom. They talk and they talk about each other, and you know it tends to grow under the surface, and it becomes nasty, and you have exclusion. And this is a girls' problem in secure facilities, which we are working on it. I have got a PhD student, Juliette Sonderman, who is only working on researching this, how to improve this girls' problem. It's something of a small matter, but in our facility, it leads to considerable violence between girls. So these girls can be very violent as well. That's maybe for some of you as a surprise. You think the group workers at the girls' facilities, they're in some kind of heaven because these girls have less violence. That's not true. Girls can be very nasty and very violent as well. So this is an issue which we need to address in the future. And we, of course, inform you when we have results. At TAPA, we had great improvements in living group and good working climate in second measurement. I was very happy about this because this change to a new institution is always very uncertain, but they managed to do it right, and I can only say compliments to the leadership of the facility because they kept on trying to do the good things. This is a remarkable feat. But also at Talent Center of Children at Risk, great improvements in the living group and work climate, and I'm very happy for this. And all this is also due to the leadership of the facility who actively promoted change. And also, I'm sad to say, in Vero, no significant changes despite efforts by staff, but a pretty good working climate. And I will say something about it later. Here is an example of the report for Talent Center for Children and Risk. And you can see the graphs are growing in the good way. And I think this is a very important step. Maybe a small step for mankind with a huge step for Talent Center for Children at Risk. And the last interviews were made yesterday or the day before. These youth even acknowledge that lots of positive changes have been made, and they're actually expressing their happiness about these changes. And we will, in the afternoon, we will discuss it with each other. So, all in all, the outcomes of these projects are largely positive. Also, a very important thing is that the questionnaires in Estonian and Russian language are reliable and valid. So, scientifically, this is very important, but also for you. Every time we have this measurement, we do some statistics on it and see if they are reliable and valid, and they're very reliable and valid. This is an important thing. And the interviews generally underscore the quantitative results. So if we ask the boys things, they say the same thing as they fill in their questionnaires. And important is also that in most facilities, management and staff focus on improving the next results. So this is something of a movement where you get feedback, try to improve, and get feedback again. And this way, change is possible. It's not going rocket fast, but it's something which each institution for itself should be finding out. We have no master plan of this, you have to do it this way or you have to that way. The institution, the staff, and the leadership together have, and with the inmates and the children, have to find it out. And very important, staff is the key to change. Top-down processes will not work in practice. You need to do it with your staff. You need to convince your staff that change will bring also good things for yourself. We need to convince all involved, and knowledge and support are the key for a real change, which we have seen in Estonia. So I'm drawing to my conclusions. The institution, management, staff and children and inmates have gained insight in their climate quality, something which can be beneficial for mutual discussions about improvements. Repeated measurements have an attending value. It means that you are focused on what is important in your facility, and they are to be preferred over a single measurement. If you do a single measurement, nothing will change in our experience. The two measurements have shown improvements have been made for several institutions. So I'm very happy about this. And also, what I said before, I'm very happy the children also express their gratitude for these changes. They still say, I don't want to belong to be here. They still say, I'm not learning anything. They still be negative. That's normal. But they are very grateful for the changes which you have brought the past years. For Viru, it takes probably more time. The problems which are there in Viru prison can be compared to other countries. We do a lot of research in England, the problems in Australia, which I'm aware of, in Germany and Belgium, we see the same problems we have in Viru. But we know this can be changed, because we did it in other countries as well. The work climate in Estonia is generally good, and this is also a good sign that staff is able to, that leadership is able to inspire a good working climate, and this is also something which is very important. So, these are the conclusions of our surveys. We keep on working in the Netherlands and Estonia, working together with management, staff, children to secure a better future for children at risk and inmates in order, and we all do so in order to create a safer society. And I met with the Minister of Justice in January, and actually he expressed his thanks to our country, because working together, both countries, is something which you don't see often at this level. And actually, we are also grateful to be here in this very lovely country, and I hope to return once more. Thank you very much.
Kas keegi tahab midagi küsida, midagi öelda?
So, my name is Anna Markina. I come from University of Tartu. And my question is just a thought I had. How seriously those measurements and results are taken by the staff at the facilities? So is it just something nice that can be improved, or something you can evaluate their performance, perhaps?
Yeah. Well, actually, in the Netherlands, the performance of the secure facilities, the climate is one of the main things the inspections look at. So last year, every secure facility is inspected once a year, or sometimes more. And last year, the joint inspection of youth and education and social work have decided to put the social climate as one of the four main indicators of quality of service. So I'm very happy about it, of course. But this is, I think, a good step forward. And your second question, how serious the staff takes it? Well, in general, without too much bias, those who improved the most were taking it most seriously. That's something which I can conclude from the two measurements waves and the interviews. So what we see is that when staff takes it seriously, rapid change is possible. Really, I've seen at a talent center, for instance, they were taking the initiative further, and they have instituted quite big changes, which the boys and girls still talk about, because they compare when they were there before and they were there now. And some said some of these changes are quite small. They were talking together about allowing the children to use a telephone. This is always a big thing, these telephones. And now the management said, well, if you can handle it correctly, we are now allowing you telephone time. And this is, for those children, a very big thing. It's for my children as well, because their telephone is something of a world I cannot understand. I'm 59. But for the children, it's their whole social environment. And allowing them to use these telephones is really, it looks like a small thing, but it's for these children a big thing, because they can make better contact with their peers. So these changes are actually reflecting on the quality of the social climate enormously, in my opinion. Okay.
Hello, my name is Ksenia Zhorakovskaya-Aru. I'm from the Office of the Chancellor of Justice of Estonia. And thank you for your presentation, and I understand that it all comes down to the relationship between the staff and between inmates and the inmates, between inmates themselves. But what do you think about the formula of carrots and sticks? Do staff need more carrots to nourish this relationship with the inmates, or it doesn't work this way?
Well, Chris will tell you about this as well, as it is about repression. Actually, a good working relations is not about carrots and sticks. It's about respecting each other, having contact with each other, being a role model. It has nothing to do with carrots, because carrots are finite. At one time you spend all your carrots. You don't have any carrots anymore. But contact and mutual respect is infinite. You can always have more contact and more respect to each other. So this is a very important lesson for us. Carrots are finite. At one time you've used out your carrots. Punishment is infinite. It tends to be more and more and more and more. But contact is also infinite, and you can be a good role model to a criminal or a child, and this actually will help him experience growth.
Okay, I also have one question. Per, I think also in Estonia, well, not so much, but sometimes still closed facilities are criticized and said that we actually shouldn't have any closed environments for children, and we should only try to do the work outside of prison. But I think you have also shown and talked about this a lot, that sometimes closed facilities are needed, and sometimes they can actually have a positive effect on kids. So can you maybe also explain this thought?
Yes, this is a hotly debated issue in the Netherlands as well, especially as for about 10 years ago, apart from Russia and the United States, we were locking up most children from the whole of Europe. So this was not a very good thing, I think. We were locking up too many children, and then we started to, with the huge changes, we started to minimize the boys and girls who were put into secure facility and youth prison. Last 5 years, we closed down, I think, 3 youth prisons and a lot of facilities. And we are now doing more into the community homes and foster care. We even have forensic foster care, which means that youth who are actually referred to a youth prison are placed in a family-like situation, and the first results we have are quite good. So this is a promising direction, and we will share this with you the coming years. But it's not without problems, because the outside world is something which to be reckoned. In these small facilities which are located in towns, you have this, the problem there is not keeping them inside, but keeping the outside outside. And I mean that it's what we want to keep outside is drug dealing, prostitution, all other kinds of problems. And that's something we need, the next few years, we need to research this. And we are doing now research on it, and it's quite hopeful, but it's still a struggle. It's a real struggle to keep drugs out, to keep the children in small facilities, to keep them from running away. A few days ago, I had a conversation with a girl of 15 who was prostituting herself, and the pimp was her uncle. And then I said, "Why do you keep running away from here and always going back to this uncle?" Yes, because she said, if I don't do this, my younger sister is next. So these are very difficult problems to address with us. And also these problems of drug use and alcohol use, especially with children with a mild intellectual disability. We haven't have a final answer for this. Maybe we never find this. So with very difficult children, we have now a lot of children who are quite antisocial, who do really nasty things. We need some form of a secure environment. I think in the future we cannot do without it. But the former situation in 2007, where we had too many ordinary children in secure facilities, I'm very glad we do not live in that area anymore.
Okay, so thank you. Oh, you had one, sorry.
About this formal security, last time in Holland they made a law that the kids under the 18, they are not allowed to buy alcohol in restaurants or in the shops. Is that one of these formal security in Holland that you mentioned now, or?
No, I think it's actually worse problems like drugs and prostitution, illegal prostitution, violence, robbery. It's about those security, this kind of problem. You know, kids smoking now and then or drinking alcohol is not the worst problem we have. It's about real crime and prostitution and drug use. I think it's the same as in Estonia.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so now we move to our next